Let me see. Am I live? Okay. Good evening, people of the internet. Welcome to yet another spontaneous live. I was trying to do it yesterday. Ended up taking a little longer, shooting some stuff that's going to be on NatesVlogs.net. Welcome, welcome. It's good seeing you. People in here already. I like it when that happens. While you all dressed up, I'm dressed up. Shit. You ain't seen nothing yet. You think this dressed up, you young whippersnapper. Um, yeah, this whole thing. I mean, shit. I was gonna say the only thing I got that's like relatively new is this shirt, and the shirt is used. So I appreciate that. If you knew how little I paid for this outfit, you would be surprised. You got shoestrings that cost more than this. But I appreciate your false flattery. It's quite kind. Um, yeah, and well, you can see it in the upcoming videos. I also got like some another video. It's outfit. Well, I put together the shirt. I made my own little Black Panther shirt. Not the comic book, but you know, like the Black Panther party and all that stuff. I also just made some more Black Panther shoes and whatnot. But yeah, yeah, because I'm trying to harken back to a more positive culture. Because I mean, this video, it's a grim subject matter because it was yet another mass shooting, right? And I was seeing people getting lost in the weeds about what caused the mass shooting. They were saying that because it was like a transgender person, and they're saying that the transgender movement is targeting people for assassination, and that's what it's supposed to be. You know, like people cisgendered people being targeted by transgender people, and I find the whole argument to be quite ridiculous. Because one thing that connects all of the major mass shooters that I can think of is one common thread, and that is they're all American. And I think that's relevant because we have an incredibly toxic culture, extremely violent. I took this picture while I was at arts and crafts place. I saw this paper celebrating the military, and all my family's military. Both my parents were poisoned at the military base that they were working at. So I'm not shitting on the military personnel. I'm shitting on the people who get these people to kill other people just so they can have an opportunity for an education or a home. But like you look at like this is what's really wrong with American culture. You got guns, grenades, knives, and then it says like hurrah, honor, courage, duty, respect, and then you got paratroopers coming out, you got targets on and all this shit. It's just all this violent shit. But then it's also hero tanks. It's like, yeah, you get a Medal of Honor for killing people. Hurrah, they're dead. And then we're surprised we got all these fucking mass shootings. I'm not surprised when it's a transgender, cisgender, cross gender, whatever the fuck it is, gender, sex, um, uh, skin color, all that shit is irrelevant when this is the fucking culture. It's no wonder we got all this violence. And then we also got like some of the biggest serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer getting his own fucking TV series. Like he ate people. Why is he getting movies and TV shows? Why are we idolizing him? Do you know anything about the people who he killed? No. But it's just like a fucked up incentive structure. And of course you're gonna have more mass killings when like this is what's celebrated, and then like like the killers get their own shows. You probably got like people plotting on getting a show, might be signing a deal for a show before they even go on the mass killing. Like I was killing because I'm transgender and I wanted to do it for my people. No, it's just we're raised to be maniacs. This is like the ugliest fucking culture that you can come up in. Like it's just like you got desperate people who have to kill to get an education. And then by the time they get educated, they end up killing themselves. That's why the military has the highest suicide rates. And they also have the highest cancer rates because if they don't kill themselves, the government will kill them. You know, they don't get their brains blown out from operating a drone. They'll kill them. They'll blow their own shit out. You got that shit on though. Well, thank you. Okay. True. Glorifying killing. Yeah. Yeah. It is truly disgusting. And like I said, I got like a lot of family in the military, and like they adapt to it various levels. Some people are more apprehensive. Some people excel at it. You know, I got like one of my brothers. Well, all my siblings are in some branch of the military, but one of them is like a warden or ex-warden, and I guess he's making strides to change now that he retired. But like the whole time he was a warden, something that like you get transition in from the military. They want those military types, that mindset that they cultivated in these positions, because you're dehumanizing the people who are working under you. And when you dehumanize someone at work, there's no way you don't take that shit home. So, you know, like the people who I know who are in that field, they're broken psychologically. Um, and it's just, you know, I can't fuck with them. Because, like I said, toxic culture. My hero stabs people and shoots them. Got targets on them, and all this ugly fucking horrific shit that they idolize. I would necessarily say patriotism is bad thing, although the celebration of war has always bothered me. You wouldn't. Well, I would. Patriotism, what is it? It's like defining that we are different than the people over there. You know, the thing that connects us all? We're human, right? When you start to say they're different over there, then it's just like we're better. Obviously, we have to fight for our supremacy. It's not like we're saying, oh, look at the people over there. Let's collaborate with them. It's like, let's dominate them. Let's kill them. Let's take their stuff. And who's teaching us that? You know, it's like the same people who are sending us off to die in the military are the same people in control of our schools, right? Same people in control of our media, right? That's why, you know, you play a game. They're getting you used to killing people if you're playing Call of Duty, right? They're getting, and then like you learn those controls, you automatically know how to handle a drone. You can blow up a family's wedding. Um, like I said, it's just they're teaching you from the womb to be a violent psychopath. Uh, you can't be surprised when one of the killers presents themselves. So we got more mass shootings than we have days in the year, and this is why. You flyer than a UAP tonight. Unidentified aerial phenomenon should be on the lookout for me. I appreciate the new follows and all of the kind words. But yeah, it's just I knew I had to touch on this. I got like a employee evaluation that really doesn't get into the mass shooting. I try not to like keep up with all the mass shootings because it does get like depressing, and there's so many. It's like when you pick one, it's like picking favorites. But it's just more so just I don't want to highlight on the shooting, just like the culture that leads to the shooting, because I think that's what we need to fucking abolish. Uh, Obviously, it's going to be hard to abolish it because, like I said, the people who are like the all this war shit. If you this is why I can't watch sports. It's a multitude of reasons I can't watch men playing with balls professionally. Although I do support legalized prostitution, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like they get money directly from the fucking Pentagon to be pro-war, celebrate that shit, right? And if you're like someone like, let's say, Colin Kaepernick, you want to take a knee because you're not for this, you're not for the military training psychopaths who end up getting in police forces, and then they take the tactics that they were using in these brown countries, and then they use it in brown neighborhoods. If you speak out against that, you'll lose your job. You know, like you'll be attacked by the media. They'll treat you like some kind of terrorist because you're against American terrorism. Because it's profitable for a small select few, and they're the most vocal, and their opinions get echoed by the media. So uh, all of this shit, if you think it's anything cool or noble about murdering people, that you need to be checked out psychologically. I'm against murder. I mean, and maybe self-defense. You come at me, I'm going. Who knows what I'm likely to do? But I'm not going to go out, kill anybody, rob them of the resources. That's not something I want to do. Especially if it's like my government telling me to do it. That's just me being told that my government is tyrannical because they have a monopoly on violence, and they don't give a shit about you. You come back like I said, they got the military highest suicide rates, highest cancer rates. Like they're not treating them right. They pretend they're heroes. Like hero is one of the words, but yeah, when you kill people for the state, you're a mercenary. And I think people need better options than kill people for education and housing. Other countries, it's not an issue. You know, that's how we got colonized. You know, the people who colonized this country in Australia, they were largely in debtors' prisons, struggling, right? And then they were told by the British, hey, you want to get out of jail? Go kill some people and take their land. We might even give you a piece of land. And sure enough, they did it. And eventually the government came for that land because, you know, we're seeing a homelessness epidemic that's unprecedented. Like, we have more homeless people than China. And China has a way bigger population. I'm not talking about per capita. So I'm talking about all of the Chinese people, Chinese homeless people. Pretty much you got to choose to be homeless, live off the land. You know, out here, it's just like we prioritize corporations. Um, we like corporations are artificially driving up housing prices, uh, kicking people out in the streets because they're making that their business model. And we should be saying corporations shouldn't be able to own housing. Period. Should be humans get the houses first. Uh, then, like, if we got extra surplus, then we could talk about like some way of making money. But first and foremost, like everyone's got to get served, you know. But uh, this is what they want. You got to go kill people to get a loan for a house. And then even after you get that loan, it's not a guarantee you're gonna be keeping that house because a lot of veterans end up in the streets. Yeah, so it's just uh, definitely wanted to touch upon that because that was like just something that bothers me, you know, and like when I hear other people discuss uh, um, certain topics like this, it always just rubs me the wrong way because I feel like we're talking in circles, you know, like making it seem like oh it's this particular group, this trans person, this cisgendered person, this white person. I remember it was like it was it was a few months ago. It was like a Asian mass shooter, and it was like people were just like getting super racist in the comments, like oh my god, the Asians, they're coming, they're coming. I'm like, okay, first and foremost, he's American. You know, like he's not like coming from China. He was like raised out here under this shit. And then like we have like record Asian hate crimes, and as someone who was raised under this kind of violence, starts seeing his people and himself and his family, people he care about, getting attacked constantly, and then he just like snaps. Probably had lead in his drinking water, just an unstable mental situation from the beginning, and then he killed people. And then like you have one Asian person, and then like it was a bunch of people just like they forget all of the non-Asian serial killers, and then they just focus on that. It's the same kind of hyper focus on like the transgender shooters. That's why I say the connecting thread is they're American. This is what they grew up under, and this is the shit we gotta break free from. Thoughts on insider trader trading from people in government positions? I don't know why it's not banned outright. Yeah, I think I'll go beyond that. It should be banned. I think any corporation that receives any government subsidies that's welfare, and we're talking about corporations that are being run by the richest people in the world, getting billions of dollars in corporate subsidies, more money than they can spend, and they're still stealing more of our money. They need to be investigated. All non-disclosure agreements abolished. Lock them up for all criminality. Like we need and they can't have more than, I was gonna say more than $1 billion, but if your whole business model is built on extorting corporate welfare, you shouldn't have more than $10 million. I mean, that's generous because you can live off of that. Like if you're a poor motherfucker, you'll be lucky if you could get food help, right? I remember I applied for benefits. I was denied because I was told I had some Google stock that I never even applied for. But I couldn't even get like any help. But like you got people getting $1 billion contracts. If you look at someone like running Microsoft or Google. Google was started with government money. That's like a corporation that was started by the government, and then they used their close connection to the government to put all their business out of all their competition out of business. Um, yeah, they need to be investigated. Uh, Lock up the heads of it. Like the people who were buying up lobbyists and all that shit. Lock them all up. It's a big criminal cabal, and they need to be taken care of. They need to be living in a life of poverty. They should not make any more than the lowest paid worker working under them. Like, and that's like they figure out some creative ways to get people paid less than minimum wage. So make them broke, make them struggling after giving them some hellified jail sentences. Oh, especially if they're profiting off of the prison system. The for-profit prison owners, they should be living in the prison that they created. And all the politicians who collaborate, that's like literally fascism. Like, when you work with the corporations and you're in the government, that's like why we hated Mussolini and Hitler. you know? So why are we just casually accepting it right now? Like we're seeing our air poison, water poison, food is uneatable, and there's no accountability. All of the big major corporations need to be nationalized, run by worker-owned co-ops, and yeah, we'll start to see like the country flourish because money is like shit. Um, if you spread it out, it'll help some shit grow. But if you pile it up in one area, it stinks. I believe that was Martin Luther King. It pisses me off how the government always bails out the rich investor, but never the poor, gullible people. Well, yeah, that's why we need to nationalize banks. They got a nationalized bank in North Dakota. They didn't suffer from the 2008 banking crisis because they weren't giving out subprime mortgages. Their goal wasn't to take people's homes, right? If someone's struggling to pay their mortgage, like they don't take the home, they just wait for them to get money. Like back in the Dust Bowl farms in the 30s, they didn't take farms. They were like, you don't have the money to pay us off. Well, hold on to that property, uh, plant some stuff, wait till things turn around, and they waited, and it was much better than the rest of the country. And yeah, the Federal Reserve is a corporation. It was put in there by these European banking cartels because Woodrow Wilson was owned by them. That's why he got us into World War I. That's why he had this was an Operation Polar Bear, where we went into Russia with Britain, Italy, France, some other country. It was four countries, and we went in there after the Russians had their Bolshevik Revolution because their government was placed by the Europeans, more specifically Britain, and they wanted to maintain power. So they divided the White Russians and the Red Russians. Hitler went in there, told them that this land is our land, and then started killing people in mass. And then, yeah, that's how you control people. Uh, Divide and conquer. That's what they're doing with us. You know, like they want us to hate Russian people. They want us to hate Chinese people. Who we really need to be afraid of, who we really need to hate, corporations. Corporation is the most evil entity. They will do everything, say everything to make us hate other humans. Um, because corporation, for those of you who don't know, they were used to colonize India due to British corporations like the East India Company. Over 100 million Indian people were killed in a 40-year span. They created slavery as we know it. Um, and yeah, and like the East India Company was the world's largest corporation at the time. Now, all of the world's largest corporations are located where? In America, right? They're the biggest welfare queens. They get more welfare than actual people. And where do they pay their taxes? Most of the big corporations, they're based in Europe. They say they're doing it to pay lower taxes, so they go to Ireland and shit like that. But it's just really like a big scam. Like I said, the British had a system to extort the Indians, and London is its own corporation. The city of London is a corporation, and America is a corporation's bitch. So we are the muscle of this big operation. They use all of our money for funding these military adventures that benefit a small cabal of people quite greatly. You know, like we were fighting for BP, British Petroleum, stealing land from Iran, Iraq. Fun fact: first Iraq War, or one of the first Iraq wars, was in the 1920s, and that's when British soldiers went in to try to overthrow their government. Well, you know, I guess you could argue they successfully did it for a period of time. But yeah, and then uh, you know, we had a British, well, the Iraq War of the 90s, the big one about 20 years ago. We just celebrated the 20-year anniversary. Um, and, you know, it was Tony Blair and George Bush. And everybody was made to believe that Tony Blair was George Bush's bitch, but it was really the other way around because that was their war. They were in that war over 100 years before. Um, but yeah. Hey, Nate. Largest welfare group, the royal family. Yeah. Biggest psychopaths. And then they make it seem like they're decent people. Just disgusting, deplorable, entitled little shitheads. And then when you have someone who's that protected, that entitled, of course they're gonna do crazy shit, like go to Jeffrey Epstein's island, like Prince Andrew, and I'm sure King Charles. That's what they do. Do not trust them. BP via UK Gov stole Venezuelan gold 3 years ago. Yes. Yeah, that's why I say the European banking cartel that established the Federal Reserve, they do everything in secrecy. So our money is not our own. It's controlled by this corporation that is like based in London. That's why all of the biggest oligarchs, they put their money in the Bank of London, right? And then like you know, because before we became the big muscle of this whole operation, um, Britain became the bad guy. Like everybody hated them. They were the world reserve currency back in the 50s, up until the 50s. Then everybody was like, "Fuck them," right? They saw their power waning. Um, and then they were like, let's just invest in America. I mean, they started investing before then. So, like before we got into World War II, um, what you call it? Uh, Winston Churchill, he was adamant. He knew we were going to get in. You know how he knew we were going to get into World War II? because before we got into World War II, we started like this Lend-Lease program. Our corporations, our businesses out here, companies like Remington, they used to make typewriters. They started making guns, right? And it was big business because like they were like financially incentivizing the military industrial complex. And uh, uh, all of these corporations that were benefiting heavily, they wanted to overthrow FDR because he had different ideas of redistributing some of the wealth that was being tossed around. And then they were planning on uh, cooing FDR. They got Smedley Butler to try to see if he would bring a fascist coup to the United States. He played along to get some of their names. He told FDR about it. None of them got arrested, but they wanted to overthrow the president of the United States. And they eventually formed the CIA, Corporation's Invisible Army. Um, yeah, and to this day, we're controlled by the CIA. Like they killed JFK. I mean, I believe they poisoned FDR. That's why they got Henry Wallace. They made sure he wasn't the vice president on the term that FDR died. They got one of their KKK members, Harry Truman, because they knew he would be prepared to drop a nuke, two nukes on the Japanese. Henry Wallace, he was more worker oriented. Um, but yeah, the military industrial complex as we know it, CIA as we know it, was formed by Europeans, primarily the British. But you could argue that there were French and Italian and whatever, but the Belgians, but primarily Britain. That's why back in the day, like the least trusted country when you ask the average American was the British. Uh, the royal family is one of the most harmful families to the common man, apart from the Rothschild. Well, they work in concert. Um, because the Rothschilds, like the British, they invented the corporation. It was just like the idea of a state sanctioned monopoly, like because they wanted to combat like foreigners who were selling wares to their people. So it's like you had the Moors who were coming to Britain and coming throughout Europe and just selling stuff, and they had all these products that the Europeans couldn't have because they had resources in Africa that Europeans didn't have. And then they wanted to kick that shit out. So they started these state sanctioned monopolies where you have to have your papers to make sales. Uh, um, and then, that evolved to like East India Company, where it's like, they had trade routes on spices. They were killing people for spices, the spice wars, right? Then they realized like, okay, we're killing people for salt, but we have like pretty much unlimited salt, and they had ways of figuring it out. It's usually by these petroleum pockets. Uh, then they realized we have access to all this petroleum. Let's turn that into a fuel source. Then we started having wars for that, you know, because they just like killing people and they like taking shit and they just look for excuses to do it. And then they know that like if they indoctrinate people into this fucked up system where we're so needy, like we think that the only way to survive is to make money to go buy this processed burger. You don't know how to like grow your own shit. You don't know how to find clean drinking water that's not in a bottle. They poison all your water, dump chemicals into it. They know if you're totally dependent on this system, like you just go along to get along. And we need to teach independence. We need to teach how to reverse all the evil shit that they did. How to get the lead out of our soil and water. How to make cars that run on the toxic sludge that's in our water, the shit that they dump. Like we can make the world a better place in the process. Um, but yeah, we have to definitely overthrow the shackles that have been thrusted upon us, which largely are mental at this point, and a lot of people go along to get along. Uh, I mean, you see a lot of the people who are mentally enslaved. They popped up during the beginning of the pandemic, started shaming people who are questioning the narratives of the psychopaths running the pharmaceutical companies that shit I was trying to put out of business before the pandemic started because, like they've been poisoning people for decades. They started the opiate crisis and whatnot. Um, but yeah, it's just uh, it's a state. I mean, I'm hopeful. I see more and more people waking up. It's like a lot of people who I used to argue with about certain things. Now they just get it. They accept it. Um, and I'm just going to keep paying attention to that kind of stuff. Uh, because there was at one point a lot of reluctance to accept certain facts, but now they're just kind of universal. It's axiomatic at this point. The French are complicit in this. They have military presence globally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why you got so many countries in Africa that also speak French. And that's why, like, Africa in general is just like revolting against all European countries. Um, yeah, I was just kind of talking about it because I was on a Zoom meeting for a school and whatnot, and one of the cats was talking about French influence, uh, and we got like multiple people who are from Africa. They speak French as well, and the only reason they have that is because the French Europeans they came together to try to carve up Africa. One of the only countries to not succumb to the colonizers was Ethiopia. Italy thought that they could take it. They ended up getting the help from all these other European countries. And then when they didn't succeed, they started saying, "Oh, but the Ethiopians, they're all those other black people, they're niggers. But these Ethiopians, they're like not normal blacks. They're dark skinned white people." um, and then as they got to like um, uncover some of the secrets of ancient Africa, like Egypt. They saw all this splendor, all this technologically advanced society, and then they wanted to take credit for it. So it's like one of the employee evaluations, or I don't know. It was no, it wasn't employee evaluation. It was the new series I posted, More History. I go into I use clips from like one of those dudes who was like pro apartheid, and he was saying black people are 50,000 years behind white people. We created civilization starting in Egypt. And like he was claiming Egypt, and he was British. And I don't know if you're familiar with geography at all, but Egypt, nowhere near Britain. And if you were to live in Egypt for a few millennia, like the Egyptians did, the ancient Egyptians, your skin would get extremely dark from all that sun. Um, but this dude, he just it's a whitewashing of history. Hitler did the same shit. He took credit for ancient India. That's why they took the Vedic swastika, made it their own. Because if they see something that is worth having, it's worth pretending that white people did it. Um, and that's kind of what they do. P.S. Your hat is awesome. Well, yeah, I made it myself. I added all of the flair to it. If calamity rewards particularly, if calamity rewards particularly, okay. If calamity rewards certain sectors, those sectors will foster those same problems. Yeah, that's why I'm just all about nationalizing so many industries. Got to nationalize energy, right? Because we have wars for oil. We shouldn't, right? Reason why we hate Russia so much, or the ruling class hate Russia so much, is because they have nationalized energy. They have nationalized healthcare, right? They're the threat of a good example. Um, I'm not saying that everything in Russia is perfect. I'm just saying we can learn a lot from everybody. Like how China got 800 million people out of poverty, how they have no homeless people, but we got like less than 400 million, and everybody just about is struggling. Um, we need to learn from that. We got all the resources. We got like the world's richest people, um, yet we have the world's worst poverty, and it doesn't have to be that way. So nationalize energy, nationalize banking, nationalize transportation. Um, when you take the incentives out of people making money from you getting to from point A to B, like you needing oil, like we could have solar powered cars, we could have cars that run on the sludge in our water. You put in like just some of that poisonous water from Ohio, and then like you get to where you got to go, and then by the end of it, you got a clean tank of water that you could drink without having your liver shut down or getting cancer. Uh, you know, um, yeah, and it's just like we just have to reprioritize. We would have to look at all of the biggest welfare queens, like all of the biggest government subsidies. Where are they going? Defense, abolish that shit. Like because we're just giving billions of dollars, trillions of dollars to these war contractors so they can make weapons of mass destruction, killer robots. All of this shit will eventually be used to control us. I mean, it's being used to control us now. And we just need to take that power out of their hands because they've already proven that they're not worthy of having it. Nobody is worthy of having it. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. What up, Nate's Vlogs? What it do? An unintentional middle finger. Um, a lot of people say that social media is the most harmful invention to the new generation. But honestly, it seems to me it's the government trying to suppress information that paints a full story. Well, yeah, that's why it's so deadly. Because who runs social media? Like you look at YouTube, right? Oh my God, when YouTube started, it was beautiful. I love that shit. Right? It was you had the ability to respond to a video, like post a video response. So someone said something crazy, stupid, I could like make my response and just like let me show you what's what, right? Then that person's viewers would watch my video, watch their video, and then like they'd be able to decide who's making the better point. And that's how I grew my subscribership. Just like a big part of it was just responding to other people's videos, right? Um, and that's my approach to free speech. It's not silence that person. It's respond to that disinformation with actual information, right? But then it got bought up by Google. Google was a corporation that was started with government funding. It was at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Stanford, with their lab that they had out there. So it's like you have this monopolist who has this lab where he's working with all these young minds and he's getting their best ideas and he's using government funding to like invest in the stuff that he sees potential in. And a web browser that can like guide it controls the way you search. So you type in one letter, it'll like start to fill out what it might assume you're looking for, or sometimes what it assumes you're looking for, or sometimes what it wants you to look for. Um, and then like the algorithm for YouTube, it used to be based on uh, engagement. So like I had a high engagement. So like a new person will watch me and get to finish at least 80% of my videos, right? So there was once a point where YouTube was kissing my ass because that algorithm favored content like mine, right? Then they realized they could just say, fuck it, let's tweak the algorithm and we just make people watch these commercials that we want them to watch. and we'll get paid. And then like the front page became nothing but ads, right? And then if you spoke out against any of the ads, like let's say someone's got an advertisement for a deadly medicine that would be recalled, right? You speak out like, "Oh my God, I got this, took this medicine and my heart exploded, and I got like blood clots and all that shit." You speak out against it. Well, they're dependent on that ad revenue, so the people who are paying those ads, they be like, "Take this video down," and they started just doing like broad takedowns. You know, like you had the Atlantic Council, which is funded by all these evil governments: Saudi Arabia, Israel, America. Like the access of evil, as it were, and they have the ability to pull the rug from any content they want. They could just say, "We don't want that person on the internet." And then it also extended to companies. So, like, if you speak out against the pharmaceutical company, they'll shut you down. Google is directly invested in certain medications that you can't speak ill of on Google, or they'll take you down. I lost 4 channels or 3 channels last year for speaking out against a medicine that they were invested directly in. Right, that should be highly illegal because they only got this fucking stature because they got billions of dollars in taxpayer funding, right? And they also got money from like the other evil governments, like I said, Saudi Arabia and Israel. Um, but like they put all their business out, all their competition out of business. Like uh, uh, so when Google got into that when they bought Android, Android was its own operating system. They bought it. It was like a knockoff BlackBerry, right? Then Apple came out. Then they made it a knockoff Apple device. Then they bought patents for things they didn't create, things that came out before Google was even thought of. Like because they bought Motorola. And then they got all the Motorola's patents, and then they gutted the company and just gave it off to Lenovo. But what they got with those patents was the ability to shut down everybody. So before Google, I had like way more smartphone operating systems than they are available right now. Because I had Palm, Windows, uh, I had BlackBerry. You had the option for Symbian. It was like just right there. That's 4 that I could just name off the top of my head. I know it's more of it, but right now you only got 2, Apple and Android. Those are the only 2 phone operating systems that are allowed. Um, and it's just like, why? It's because Google. Before Google, we had multiple web search options. You had Ask Jeeves, Yahoo. Uh, Now it's just like Google is the #1 search engine. Why? Uh, uh, Also, you can point to a company like Facebook. Facebook is like a half-assed MySpace attempt. It's like a shittier MySpace. MySpace was way better, leap years ahead of Facebook. But MySpace was also getting funded by the government. And also, Google was trying to take out, Facebook is being funded by the government, and Google was trying to take on Facebook with Google Plus. So it's just like, yeah, hella anti-competitive. And their motto used to be "Don't be evil." Then by the time they just started taking everything over, they were like, "Fuck it, we don't even have to pretend we're not evil. We just be as evil as you can be, and just make sure no one else can compete." I'm hopeful that our access to information will lead to change for my generation and the one after it. Yeah, change is needed. Change is going to come. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Or no. Uh, Mess with you since way back, fam. Well, I appreciate that. I don't appreciate being messed with. Depending on if you're messing with me in a funny way, I don't like that at all. Go check my music out. All right, you check mine out. I'm a nationalist. Is that what your music is about? And you fucks with the unk. I see you. Oh yeah, I got like an unk bracelet at the website. I agree with a lot A lot of views, but you just said nationalize energy, and then the other hand, you said the government piled money into war. So you would trust them with your energy? Um, I would trust getting the energy out of these demonic corporations like PG&E, right? PG&E, California has a wildfire just about every week, and is usually due to PG&E not updating their infrastructure. They spend more money on stock buybacks instead of updating their infrastructure. Um, it could be more efficient. They could be moving to resources that are better and more renewable. They have laws that prevent you from getting certain energy sources. So there are states where you can't get solar. You have to pay extra tax for solar. They should be incentivizing us to switch to solar, switch to aquifers, switch to all kinds of stuff. But they want to maintain hegemony on energy. They want you to be totally dependent on these energy companies, right? And we should make every house its own little generator. And we could do that if we focused our attention on that. But right now, the attention is being focused on profits. And if we nationalize stuff, if we own the energy company, would you rather like pay a bunch of money to the energy company and get some back, or would you rather make sure you're totally energy independent, not worry about a bill, and just have like um, uh, higher power solar cells, uh, just more efficient energy system? I mean, for me, it's pretty clear. You know, I mean, and you look at like something like gasoline, right? If you live in a neighborhood with a gas station, there's a good chance you got benzene in your water, all kinds of other deadly chemicals, because all that shit leaks, right? And why are we using gasoline? Like I said, it's the same people who had us going to wars for spices, you know, like they had us going to war for salt. They realized getting those petroleum pockets, you got your salt, you got your energy, and they had us going to war for that oil, right? We had They had cars that could run on water in the 70s. They had electric cars in the 70s. We have cars that can get way higher MPG. You can get over 1,000 miles per gallon on the gas that we're already using, or you could have renewable alcohol that we could just make. Right? Why are we so focused on this petroleum? Um, it's because it's a a resource that can be held by a small group of people. And I worked at refineries. The refinery I ended up working at, I started late because I got jumped, and there was an explosion the week I was supposed to start, and everybody I worked around had either been in an explosion or known someone who was in an explosion, probably died. You know, it was one dude, his whole back was all cut up because it was like shrapnel that got in his back from an explosion. Why are we working around those deadly ass chemicals? Uh, it's because it benefits certain people, and they get like government incentives, subsidies for hiring us. So it's pretty much nationalized. They nationalize the losses, privatize the gains. So my whole thing is just like stop privatizing the gains. You got like these psychopaths who are making billions of dollars off of this shit. End it. Like if you're in any industry that's government subsidized, you shouldn't have a billionaire. Like I'm not saying if you make a book, let's say J.K. Rowling, right? She's a billionaire. She sold 15 billion fucking Harry Potter books, right? I'm not gonna knock her for uh, uh, um, selling that many books, right? She sold it to individuals. Like people chose to pay her for these books, right? But if you're in the industry like energy, like you got us going to war for you. That war, who pays for that war? We do. Who benefits from that war? You do. So it's just like nationalize that shit. You don't need that kind of power. We don't need a board of people telling us what to do, dictating how we spend our money, while they are the only people benefiting from it. Let's debate this. Oh, this is That would be easy. As in the energy gov thoughts. Energy gov thoughts. Yeah, I'm saying if we had to say, okay, let's look at Tesla, right? Tesla had a new improved way of moving energy, alternating current, right? And he had these um, wireless energy towers that he wanted to put everywhere. And it was like a brilliant idea. Everybody's excited to see it, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to make money off of it. He was getting funding by J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan pulled all that funding once he realized that all of the energy that Tesla wanted to give people was free and it was just naturally regenerative, right? And you were talking about the Ankh. Tesla was inspired by the Ankh because he went to Egypt and he was able to decipher some of their technologies. You know, because they had aquifers, they had lights. Like I said, they had these Baghdad batteries, all this shit that people just thought was so advanced that they had to be working with aliens, right? And that's why the white people wanted to take credit for it. But yeah, it's just but like Tesla, he died broke, even though he had these brilliant ideas that would have benefited all of us, because people like um, Thomas Edison, he was working closely with the government to put all his competition out of business, kind of like Google. So he had the ability to just say nope, and he had these idea farms. It's not like he was even like creating all the shit he was patenting. He had these idea mills where he got smarter people than him decoding foreign technology, a lot of the stuff that they were discovering in Egypt, and he was just taking credit for it. But yeah, if we would have had nationalized energy back then, where we have a say, and where we spend our money in the direction of our technology, I'm sure a lot of people would have elected to go for free energy as opposed to Thomas Edison's model. Because I agree with you 99%, but there is a hole in this. Okay. Okay. I agree. Privatize the losses. M. If the gains are private, then the losses must be also. Well, there we go. Glad to find some middle ground. Is this Nate final form? I'm not even over 9,000 right now. Nate, you stopped smoking weed? Kinda. I haven't smoked in a while. Um, the electric engine existed before the internal combustible engine was created. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure they had all that stuff in Egypt. I mean, like I said, we're given these particular tools that we're given these devices because they're profitable for somebody, right? And uh, just driving around in a combustible engine, how violent it is, how prone it is to breaking up, is because it's just like pushing itself apart. You got all this shit that can leak and poison you, like while you're in your car, or just like you got the gas station leak and poison the whole water supply. And it's just like, yeah, why do we have this? It's because it's profitable for a small group of people. And if we took that profit model out, we could have better products. NatesVlogs. That's my name until Google took me down. Boom. But anyways, internet, I'm like closing in on an hour, and I know at least one of these streams automatically shuts me down after an hour. So I want to thank you guys for showing up. Check out the new employee evaluation coming to um, nateflix.net. Also got, let me just. Ooh, baby, I love you every day. All right. Where the hell is it? Favorite. I'm just gonna show you. Nateflix.net, CKS, NATEFLICKS. Yeah, and I got like an April Fool's video coming up on tomorrow, and yeah, just stay tuned. More content coming. So I enjoyed the conversations, and yeah, always question the government. Bring back your original character, Cletus. Okay, okay, I do have some Cletus videos. I'll upload some because I use a Cletus clip and one of the videos I just uploaded. It was a school project I had to do, and it was like I a lot of people in my class had no idea I was like on social media, or I was like one of the pioneers, like one of the first people to get paid off of it. So I had to like make this video, and it included like Cletus, because that's like one of the some of the only videos I have from my Mopix channel before it got taken down. But yeah, I still have a few of them, and I'll upload those. And I still got the wig. I can bring it back. I mean yeah. Just stay tuned. I'm referring specifically to Tesla, but I understand your point. Well, oh, oh yeah. Well, it was good having the conversation with you guys, and also my phones are dying. So, toodles, be good to each other. Peace. And okay. And now.